to include instances where her ex-husband would bring his girlfriends into their home, allowing them to dictate household matters. She recalled one incident where a girlfriend even instructed her on what to cook, undermining her autonomy in her own home. Despite the challenging circumstances, Iyama emphasized that she never fought back physically, as she believed it wasn't the right course of action. She shared a moment when, in desperation, she looked up at the moon and prayed for intervention. Nigerian government has declared an ex-beauty queen wanted over her alleged involvement in drug trafficking. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency (NDLEA) said that Aderinoye Queen Christmas escaped when its officers raided her home in Lagos last week. In a statement, the agency said that the raid followed credible intelligence that the ex-beauty queen was involved in illicit substances. The suspect was Miss Commonwealth Nigeria Culture 2015/2016 and founder of Queen Christmas Foundation. She is yet to comment on the allegations. NDLEA said another suspect, who was returning from Brazil last week, was also arrested at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport for ingesting 60 big wraps of cocaine. And in sports, the Confederation of African Football has picked Nigerian international Victor Osimhen for a random drug test after his sterling outing against Cameroon in Saturday's round of 16 March of the ongoing AFCON 2023. Osimhen was the driving force in the 2-0 win for the Super Eagles, with his desperation to win the ball. On one of such instances, Osimhen dispossessed a Cameroon defender of the ball and made a low pass to Lookman for the opening goal. He chased down every ball and remained a constant threat to the Cameroon defense throughout his time on the pitch. His tireless display has attracted the attention of CAF, leading to his being picked for a random test. Usually, players are picked by drawing of lot for all the players in a match day squad. However, a player can also be picked randomly if they notice any unusual behavior. A pro-Northern group known as the Northern Youth Progressives Network has called for more political will from the federal government to tackle the long-standing issue of oil theft and insecurity in the Niger Delta region of the country. Speaking at a press conference this Monday in Abuja, the group noted that increased arrest and prosecution of oil thieves and saboteurs found culpable will go a long way in restoring normalcy back to the oil-rich region. The Niger Delta region is often referred to as the storehouse of Nigeria's crude oil, as it accounts for approximately 90% of the country's revenue, providing more than 90% of total exports. Despite this, the people there remain poor, marginalized and restive, leading them to resort to conflicts as a way of expressing their grievances. The conflict situation has been cause for alarm since 1999, with kidnapping of oil company workers, bombing of oil facilities, and confrontation with state law enforcement agents being a common occurrence. These happenings have led to serious implications on the economy. In a desperate attempt to end the crisis in the Niger Delta, the federal government introduced the amnesty deal for militants in the region. Although the program was considered relatively successful at the time, the growing insecurity and poverty in the country brought the issues back on the front burner, with coordinated attacks and vandalism of critical oil infrastructure becoming the new order of the day. At a press conference this Monday in Abuja, a pro-Northern group, the Northern Youth Progressives Network, says the issues will become a thing of the past if there are more arrests and prosecution of these economic saboteurs when found culpable in the region.
Our position is that there must be arrest, prosecution, confiscation of assets, both in liquid and valuables, to serve as a deterrent to those who are hell-bent in economic sabotage, no matter whose ox is gone. The government should demonstrate the political will in the fight against oil theft in Nigeria by prosecuting those 7 vessels arrested by Tantita Security Service.
The group also noted that in the ever-evolving landscape of the oil and gas industry, security and protection of critical assets stand as paramount concern and therefore called on the federal government and its security agencies to expand collaborations with private security like the Tantita Security Services to ensure the safety and security of this vital industry.
The Nigerian Army, the Navy, the Civil Defense, and the Nigerian Police and all other private security outfits, we are calling on government not to undermine the genuine commitment of Tantita Security Services. Over the years, mentioned but a few, the arrest of MT Kali vessel at the Peniton oil platform in Bayelsa State and several others that has rekindled investors' confidence. Tantita Security Service has done well in economy and security by protecting our national assets in oil sector, which is evident in the increase in crude oil output from 500,000 barrels per day to 1.8 million barrels per day. The Tantita security operations have demonstrated their effectiveness in curbing attack on oil infrastructures in the Niger Delta by employing proactive measures, intelligence gathering, and strategic collaboration.
The group also used the opportunity to appreciate the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mele Kyari, for introducing a Saudi Arabian model called the Data Control Center to oversee and monitor pipelines and oil installations across the country. Civil society organizations in Nigeria, under the auspices of the Civil Society Joint Action Group Community of Practice Against Mass Atrocities, has accused President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration of continuous failure in its primary duty of ensuring the security and welfare of all citizens, as mandated in Section 14, Subsection 2 of Nigeria's Constitution, and its obligation to enforce and fulfill its citizens' right to life. The civil society organizations who made this known in a press briefing in Abuja said to end mass atrocities, secure Nigeria, and ensure accountability for victims, there is need for the president to declare a state of emergency on kidnapping and other forms of terrorism. Clevy News' Imefunu Kon was there and now tells us more.
After gaining public trust to run as president and promising to curb insecurity in Nigeria, between 2019 and 2023 of former President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, statistics indicate that at least 24,816 Nigerians lost their lives, while 15,597 persons were abducted. Concerned over the deteriorating state of security across Nigeria and its Federal Capital Territory, a coalition of organized civil society groups across Nigeria said the alarming trend has continued despite President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's assurance at the beginning of his presidency in May 2023 to tackle insecurity. The group therefore called on Bola Ahmed Tinubu to fulfill his constitutional duties as president to safeguard lives and properties of all citizens.
The need to urgently take action to save lives and properties in this country. There's no way anybody is going to come and invest when the country is in this state of insecurity. So it is absolutely necessary to find a way to deal with this insecurity because Nigerians are already experiencing double insecurity, poverty and insecurity. These two are combined together and they are killing Nigerians. On top of it is corruption.
And when a deaf girl or a deaf woman is attacked, how can she shout? What about blind people and other forms of persons with disabilities? We are mostly affected, and we are calling on government to do something as quickly as possible to save and secure our lives. We hereby call upon President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the lead agent of government to urgently uncover and prosecute those responsible for the misappropriation of the $460 million earmarked for the provision of CCTV cameras in the Federal Capital Territory. Implement more decisive measures to promptly secure the release of all abducted victims. Engage citizens on best practices for ending insecurity, including incentivizing the payment of ransoms. Number 10, provide holistic psychosocial support for abduction survivors and their families. Number 11, promptly investigate and decisively prosecute all individuals implicated in fueling insecurity.
The group also called on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to, as a matter of urgency, declare a state of emergency on kidnapping and other forms of terrorism, as well as prosecute the sponsors of terrorism arrested under the Buhari's regime.
I think the important thing is that we need the president to call together what they call it the security apparatus in the nation, the service chief, those responsible, and tell the nation exactly what they are doing and what they want to do. When you talk about state of emergency, the president needs to address the country.
Recognize that it is urgent. Allocate a timeline within which you will resolve this problem, or at least roll back insecurity. So there should be a timeline. Clear, concrete. 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. Certainly, we should begin to see some results in 6 months. So it's a Nigerian crisis, and we have to wake up to it. So whether you are media, you are civil society, you are a professional group, it is time to have a multi-stakeholder conversation on insecurity in the country. We need to have it.
So I think the political elite, led by the government need to provide that enabling leadership to start talking about the insecurity in the country. And like what my colleagues have said, people are abandoning the state. People are abandoning the government. It's like, to your tent, O Israel. That has to stop.
So all that is happening is we are cooking other perpetrators for the future. And I think that the northern elders are completely right, and we are really calling on the government. And not just the issue of insecurity, but what will even happen to local communities, for the future.
It may interest you to know that insecurity has become Nigeria's biggest nightmare for some years now. What started like a child's play has grown like a wildfire, going out of control by the government. Indeed, more and more citizens are now worried over the safety of their lives and properties than ever before. Imefon Okon, reporting for Clever News.
As part of efforts geared towards flushing out terrorism and kidnapping in the northwest and north-central regions of Nigeria, the air component of Operation Wild Punch has eliminated a syndicate of terrorists in Kaduna State. In a statement issued this Monday by the Director, Nigerian Air Force Public Relations, Air Vice Marshal Edward Gabwet, the precision strike followed an intelligence report of the movement of the syndicate along the Quiga Kwampin Doka axis in Birnin Gwari local government area of Kaduna State. Meanwhile, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taurid Lagbaja, has ordered troops of the 3 Division Nigerian Army and the Joint Task Force Operation Safe Haven to adopt a more aggressive posture and decisively stamp out terrorists causing mayhem in Plateau and border states. General Lagbaja handed down the stern order at the weekend while addressing troops during an operational tour to Plateau State following a recent disruption of peace in Mangu local government area of the state. Now, the Supreme Court this Monday reserved judgment on an appeal the All Progressives Congress (APC) and its candidate Senator Aisha Dahiru, popularly known as Binani, filed to challenge the outcome of the governorship election that held in Adamawa State on March 18. A 5-member panel of the Apex Court led by Justice Inyang Okoro, adjourned the matter for judgment after all the parties adopted their final briefs of argument. Specifically, the appellants, through their legal team, headed by Chief Akinolu Olujimi-san, prayed the court to sack Governor Amadu Fintiri of Adamawa State from office. They urged the Supreme Court to set aside the concurrent verdicts of the Court of Appeal and the Adamawa State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal, which upheld Fintiri's re-election. Senator Dahiru maintained that she polled the majority of valid votes cast at the election and was validly declared the winner by the state resident electoral commissioner. However, Fintiri, through his lawyer, Damian Dodo-san, urged the apex court to dismiss the appeal and validate his election victory. The appellate court had, in a judgment it delivered on December 18, 2023, dismissed Senator Dahiru's appeal, even as it awarded a cost of 1 million naira against her. If you are just joining us, you're watching the news on Clearview News Desk. If you look at what you have in life, you will always have more. If you look at what you don't have in life, you will never have enough. We will be back after this break. Stay with us. You're welcome back. In a country like Nigeria with over 200 million people, it is easy for anyone to be overwhelmed with pressures from the surrounding environment. In this special report, Clearview's correspondent takes us through the impact of mental stress on human health and the need for every individual to pay attention to it. In Nigeria today, talks that border around mental health is continuing to gain popularity among its populace. This is because research has identified stress as part of the many factors that can lead to mental health problems and other medical issues. Mental health challenges are associated with certain high-stress occupations such as medicine, policing, students, teaching and informal sector operators. Evidence suggests that excessive demands of the occupation, coupled with low income, job insecurity, low status and physical fatigue contribute to mental health occupational hazards. Journalism in Nigeria is characterized by all these predisposing factors, as journalists are constantly faced with deadlines, overflowing email inboxes, having to journey on a daily basis to work, most times in traffic jam, closing late from work, coupled with poor salaries and benefits, and oftentimes no pay at all. Reporting certain topics, coupled with the stress and mental health strain that come from these stories, pose a major challenge for journalists. Journalists who cover conflicts, refugee stories, climate and natural disasters, violence, abuse and harassment, as well as human stories, face problems such as anxiety, depression, sleep and eating disorders, burnout, trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder. Journalists also personally face harassment, assault, violence online and in person, and have to deal with uncertain working hours. These end up taking a toll on their well-being and effective delivery of their watchdog functions. It has therefore become important to come up with some mechanisms to deal with the stressors. In an exclusive interview, some journalists at Clearview News Desk give perspectives on their personal routine in managing work-related stress.
Luckily for me, I have a strong family support system. So when I go home, I try to socialize as much as I can with, say, my siblings, and then I try to rest. Try to maybe get some sleep, cold shower. It depends on the day, cold or warm shower. And then just stay still on bed for a while. Rest, fiddle with my phone a bit, and then either listen to music or watch some movies, or I just isolate myself or travel. After a while, if I'm too stressed, I just take out some time, a day or two, just travel or go somewhere green and just see a beautiful scenery or a green environment, or where there's lots of water, something different from my normal everyday schedule. I think to manage stress, you need to even know your stressors. You need to know what is stressing you. I need to know at what point and at what time you are stressed. You know your body. So if you need to take out the necessary time to distress, you should.
One of the ways I manage stress is that when I close from work, I try as much as I can not to allow whatever that happened during the day to follow me to the house. I don't think about it. I let go of whatever thing that happened during the day. I free my mind from it. So I try as much as I can to rest. I like doing things that make me happy, like going to the choir, singing, or just be there. I don't really sing like others, but once I'm there, I'm happy because it gives me joy when I'm singing. So it also helped me relax my nerves.
The job journalism is very stressful. In my case, what I do is to have my day planned out. I know ahead of time what I will be doing for that day. So I prepare my mind for it. So I have my schedule. And when I'm out of work, I play music a lot. You can see my radio here. I listen to music to ease off stress.
Personally, what I do is I make out time to have a social gathering. I just find a place to relax my brain after work because this job is quite tasking. By the time from your news gathering, where you're in the field, gatherings, reports, back to the office, writing your stories, you pass it to the editors, the script editing, the video editing. You see, is a whole lot of process. So it is quite tasking. So at the end of the whole day, all I do is just look for somewhere and relax my brain, and then I think that solves it makes me calm down, make me refreshed for the next day's challenge.
We do a lot of mental activities with our brains as journalists. That's why you need to really take care of your mental health. When you're tired, you can take breaks in between your job, even though it's minutes or seconds. You tend to ease your nerves and stay away from any form of anxiety. I tend to avoid things that makes me angry. I make myself happy.
Work-related stress is a